Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai Jai Jai.
Om Ajnanathimiranthasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya Hema Badibhya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So today is the most auspicious occasion of the appearance day of Lalita Sakhi. Today is also called as Lalita Sashti. Sashti means 6. It's the 6th day. So like we have radhashtami, ashtami means 8. We have Ram Navami means 9. So on and so forth. So today is Lalita Sashti. It is the appearance day of Lalita Sakhi. So before we dive into our discussion on the glories of Srimati Radharani, I would want to humbly prostrate myself at the lotus feet of Srimati Lalita Sakhi and take her blessings and permission before we attempt to speak about Srimati Radharani. Who can actually speak about Srimati Radharani? When it comes to Krishna, even Ananta with his 1,000 hoods cannot describe the glories of Krishna. So what to speak of Radharani, who is even superior to Sri Krishna? But in our very humble attempt, I beg at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and Lalita Sakhi to kindly bless us so that we may speak favorable in line with our Gaudiya Siddhanta and Sampradaya. So initially in our discussion, I would want to speak little about Lalita Devi, her attributes, and what is her relation with Srimati Radharani. So in the spiritual world, service to Krishna is very meticulous. There are groups, and in those groups, there are sakhis, there are gopis who serve Krishna based on their mood. So depending on a particular mood, the gopis are assigned a particular camp through which they can serve Krishna. So these groups are classified into 4 types. The first one is called as Swapaksha. So Paksha basically means side. Swapaksha, oh, these are those gopis who are favorable to Srimati Radharani. These gopis are favorably disposed towards Srimati Radharani. For them, Radharani is the life and soul. The lotus feet of Radharani is everything for these gopis. So it's called as Swapaksha gopis, Swapaksha sakhis. What are the examples? The best examples are Lalita and Vishakha. Lalita and Vishakha, they fall under this category of Swapaksha sakhis. Service of Radharani, the lotus feet of Radharani is everything for them. Then the next group, they are called as Vipaksha sakhis, which means they are contrary, they are opposite to that of Swapaksha. Vipaksha sakhis. So these sakhis are those who are favorably disposed towards Chandravali. So we all have heard this name of Chandravali. So Vipaksha sakhis are those who are favorably disposed towards Chandravali. For them, Chandravali is the life and soul. Just like for Lalita and Vishakha, Radharani is the life and soul. Similarly, in the spiritual world, there are gopis, there are sakhis for whom Chandravali is the life and soul. So they are called as Vipaksha sakhis. Then is the third category called as Tatastha, which means marginal. These sakhis have a connection with both the camps, that is Radharani and Chandravali. But as far as mood is concerned, they are more favorable towards Chandravali and little less towards Radharani. Unlike the Swapaksha sakhis have everything to do with Radharani. The Vipaksha sakhis have everything to do with Chandravali. But in Tatastha, there is a mixture that takes place. These are those sakhis for whom Chandravali is everything, and they also offer their respects to Radharani. So they have little love for Radharani, but for them Chandravali is everything. And the fourth category are the Surit Paksha. These sakhis are those for whom Radharani is everything, but they also have little love, little respect for Chandravali. So in this way, our acharyas, they give a beautiful description as to how the spiritual world is classified when it comes to the service of Srimati Radharani, or to the service of Krishna, to be precise. So just to reiterate, there are 4 camps, that is Swapaksha, Vipaksha, Tatastha and Surit. Swapaksha are those sakhis, they are those gopis for whom Radharani is everything. The example we discussed are Lalita and Vishakha. Then is Vipaksha sakhis, who are contradictory, they're opposite to that of the Swapaksha sakhis. For them, Chandravali is everything. Then the third category we discussed is Tatastha, who are marginal, not inside, not outside, somewhere in between. For them, Chandravali is everything, but they also have little love and respect for Srimati Radharani. And finally, the fourth category we discussed is Surit Paksha. For them, Radharani is everything, but they also have little love and respect for Chandravali. So in this way, there are 4 categories, but generally, if you have to broadly just describe them into 2 main categories, they are the camp of Radharani and the camp of Chandravali. That is what we have generally heard. We have heard that there are 2 camps, that is the camp of Radharani and Chandravali, which is right. But what we just discussed was the in detail classification as to how the gopis are there in both the camps. So a broad description would be, there are 2 camps, the camp of Radharani and the camp of Chandravali. This camp of, it is Surit Paksha. So the last camp is Surit Paksha. So broadly, they're classified into 2 types, the camp of Chandravali and the camp of Srimati Radharani. This camp of Chandravali, they are called as Grita Sneha. So these are technical terms which is good to write down just for our understanding, so that in future, if you have to refer, we know what the classification is in the spiritual world. So this camp of Chandravali, they're called as Grita Sneha. Now the question arises, oh, why they're called as Grita Sneha? Well, Grita means ghee. So their love for Krishna is like that of the ghee. Now, what is the qualification of the ghee? Well, ghee, if we see, is not very sweet. And secondly, we cannot have ghee in large quantities. So the love of Chandravali is compared to that of ghee. Even though she loves Krishna, it cannot be had in large quantities. But when it comes to Radharani, their love is called as Madhu Sneha. And Madhu in Sanskrit means honey. So the love of Radharani has two characteristics. It is sweet like honey and it can be had in large quantities. So Krishna, the Acharyas describe, Krishna prefers the love of Srimati Radharani. Even though Krishna goes to Chandravali, but Krishna cannot have the love of Chandravali in large quantities. But when it comes to Radharani, her love is Madhu Sneha. It's sweet like the honey and it can be had by Krishna for time immemorial. So this is the classification that our Acharyas give as far as the gopis of the spiritual world are concerned. And today, being Lalita Sashti, the appearance of Lalita Devi falls under the category of Swapaksha Sakhis, which we described, and they fall under the category of Madhu Sneha, serving Radharani, who finally serves Shri Krishna. And as far as the appearance is concerned, our Acharyas beautifully described that Lalita Devi appeared 27 days before that of Srimati Radharani. So she is older. She is older to that of Radharani, and many times because she's older. How old is she? Well, she's 27 days older. So she considered herself as the older sister and she controls Radharani. When Radharani has to go to Krishna or some pastime has to occur, she tells Radharani, oh Radharani, you have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. When Krishna is coming, this is how you should behave. So like the older sister, she takes care of Radharani while she also controls Radharani in many instances. So today is the appearance of such a great personality, Lalita Devi. And we pray to her lotus feet that may she bless us and may she empower us so that we can speak something about Srimati Radharani, who is so dear and near, who is the life and soul of Lalita. So taking her blessings, we attempt to speak something in glorification of Srimati Radharani. Lalita Devi ki jai. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in the first canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, there is a verse which Suta Goswami quotes. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabhyate. So three features of the Lord are described. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Three features. So when bhakti is performed, or if I have to put it, before bhakti is performed, when the practitioner is involved in Gyan Marg, in cultivating knowledge, and there is very little trace of bhakti. Predominantly, there is only a Gyan Marg with very little of bhakti. Then the Brahman feature of the Lord is realized. What is Brahman feature? Well, it is the light emanating from the Lord. The light that comes from the Lord, the Supreme Lord, is effulgent. And the light that comes from the Lord, that light is called as the Brahman effulgence. So when the practitioners are involved and dipped in Gyan Marg, in cultivating knowledge, but there is very, 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 very little trace of bhakti, then what they realize is the Brahman feature. But when the practitioner in his performance has the cultivation of Sat and Chit. So Sat basically means form and Chit means knowledge. Now many times in Brahma Samhita we see Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is called as Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So the question arises is, what does the Satchitananda mean? Well, Krishna has three potencies, 3 Shaktis: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means the form of the Lord. Krishna has a very beautiful form. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was preaching Mayavad. At the end of 7 days, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm speaking for 7 days, are you even understanding anything? So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, whatever has to be understood, I'm understanding. What you are trying to make me understand, that I'm not understanding. So what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was preaching was Mayavad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this point, Mayavada bhashya shunilo hoilo sarvanash. If we listen to Mayavad, that Krishna doesn't have a form, God doesn't have a form, then hoilo sarvanash will be destroyed. So the 3 potencies of the Lord, 3 Shaktis of the Lord, first is Sat, which means this Lord has a form. Then is the Chit Shakti, which means knowledge. Krishna is the most knowledgeable. There is no one more knowledgeable than Sri Krishna. So that is the second Shakti of the Lord, Chit. And finally, the third is Ananda, that is happiness. We will discuss happiness, the happiness aspect of Sri Krishna in some time. But the second feature of the Lord, that is Paramatma, can be realized when there is Sat and Chit with little trace of Bhakti. So in the previous discussion, we discussed that when there is Gyan Marg and little Bhakti, what we understand is the Brahman effulgence. But when there is Sat and Chit with little more of Bhakti, what we understand is the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Now, Paramatma feature is that feature through which the whole universe has manifested. That feature through which the whole universe gets manifested is the Paramatma feature. So, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabhyate. The third category is Bhagavan. When bhakti is performed, which bhakti? Pure bhakti. Devoid of gyan, devoid of karma, devoid of ashtanga yoga, devoid of anything. When bhakti is performed just for the pleasure of Krishna. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. When it is performed for the pleasure of Hari and not for anything else. In the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj makes this point. He says, don't strike business deals with Krishna. Krishna is a better businessman than you. He said, when bhakti has to be performed, it has to be ahaituki. Don't demand anything from Krishna. You see, in Hindi, those who are from India, who have lived in India, they would have heard in Hindi, they say, Bhagavan se mat mango, Bhagavan ko mango. Which means don't ask things from God, ask God himself. Because once you get God, you'll automatically get everything that he possesses. So he says, Bhagavan se mat mango, Bhagavan ko hi mango. So that is pure bhakti, which Prahlad Maharaj is saying. So when there is pure bhakti devoid of gyan, karma, ashtanga yoga, then we can realize the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. Who is Bhagavan? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Ete chamsa kalapumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The first canto describes who is Bhagavan? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. It is Krishna who is Bhagavan. Swayam. Krishna brooks no competitor. Krishna is no competitor. He himself is Bhagavan. Remaining everyone, Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, they're all subordinate. Krishna brooks no competitor. He is Bhagavan, Swayam Bhagavan. So these are the 3 aspects of the Supreme Lord. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabhyate. So when the practitioners, they perform bhakti, the speciality of this bhakti is in other margs, in other paths, we see that when the yogis perform their meditation, when they perform their Ashtanga yoga in different poses, once they attain perfection, they give up their process because they have attained their goal. But in bhakti, it is so beautiful that bhakti is performed at the beginning when the practitioner has nothing. It is performed in the middle. And even after the practitioner has attained perfection, the performance of bhakti still goes on. And the best example is, you see the associates of Radha and Krishna. The associates of Radha and Krishna are there serving Radha and Krishna. They're already perfected. But still, when the Supreme Lord comes down as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these associates again come down to serve. So there is no interruption in this process of bhakti, even after attaining perfection. Which, in contrary, we find in other paths, when the yogis and all attain perfection, once they have attained this path of perfection, they give up their process. But the practitioners of bhakti, beginning, middle, end, they constantly keep performing bhakti. And all they ask from the Supreme Lord is they want to perform more and more of bhakti. So Sri Krishna has his Shakti. Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shaktiman, Doi Vastu Bhedanai Shastrera Praman. Who's Radharani? Radha Purna Shakti. She is the energy. Krishna Purna Shaktiman. Krishna is the energetic. Krishna is the possessor of energy, while Radharani is the energy. Dui Vastu Bhedanai. Oh, there is no difference between these two things. Which two things? There is no difference between the energy, that is Srimati Radharani, and the energetic, that is Sri Krishna. Dui Vastu Bhedanai Shastrera Praman. This is the Praman of the Shastra. Shastras loudly are proclaiming that, my dear readers, my dear listeners, there is no difference between Radha and Krishna. They are one and the same. Dui Vastu Bhedanai Shastrera Praman. So our Sri Krishna, our Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna, our Gopijana Vallabh Sri Krishna was once sitting, and Krishna was thinking to himself, I have these three Shaktis, Sat, Chit and Ananda. Ananda means happiness. I am the possessor of the happiness. But throughout I see the whole world is happy because I am providing that happiness. But who is that personality who can give me happiness? I am giving happiness to the whole world, but who is that person that who can give me happiness? Amake anand dibe ache kon jan. Who is that person who can give me happiness? So Krishna was thinking and he was contemplating, who can give me happiness? Right when Krishna was thinking this way, a very beautiful personality sprang from the left side of Sri Krishna. So Krishna, he always possesses energy to his left side. When it is Lakshmi, Lakshmi comes from the left side. When it is this personality whom Krishna was meditating, she again sprang from the left side of Sri Krishna. And when she sprang from the left side of Sri Krishna, Krishna looked at this beautiful personality and asked, who are you? And how is it that you have appeared in front of me? So when Krishna asked this question, this personality ran towards Krishna with love. With love, this personality ran towards Krishna. In Sanskrit, dear devotees, love is called as Raga. Rag. In Sanskrit, love is called as Rag. Many times we would have heard Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatmika Bhakti, which means that Bhakti which is filled with love. The practitioner is not forced to perform Bhakti, but he performs Bhakti out of love because he loves Krishna. That is called Raganuga Bhakti. So in Sanskrit, love means Raga, and to run means Dhavati. That personality who emerged from the left side of Krishna and ran towards Krishna in love is called as Rādhā. Ra from the Rag and Dha from the Dhavati. That personality who came from the left side of Krishna when Krishna was contemplating and ran towards Krishna in love to be with Krishna and to serve Krishna, that personality is called as Rādhā. So this is the history how this beautiful personality got the name Rādhā. So that's how Radharani appeared. And Radharani promised Krishna that, my dear Krishna, I will give you happiness. And that is why many times we find Radharani is called as the Ananda, the happiness giving, the pleasure giving potency of the Lord. Or sometimes she's also called as the Ladhini Shakti. So Radha Krishna Pranay Vikritir ladhini shakti rasmat. Ekat manav abhibhuvi puram. Deha bhedam gatauto. Chaitanyakyam prakatamaduna. Tadvayam chaikyam aptam. Radha bhavadviti suvalitam. Naumi Krishna Swarupam. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 5. Who is Radharani? Radha Krishna Pranay. She is the transformation of Krishna's heart, which we just discussed. When Krishna was thinking, she sprang from the left side. So she was Krishna's transformation. She was Pranay. Radha Krishna Pranay. And who is she? Ladhini Shakti Rasmat. So many times we hear that Radharani is the Ladhini Shakti. So what does this Ladhini Shakti basically mean? So Krishna has three Shaktis which we discussed: Sat, Chit and Ananda. This Sat, Chit and Ananda, they also have different terms. The Sat is also called as Sandhini, the Sandhini potency. And the predominating deity for Sandhini potency is Balaramji. So these are good points to know. We can write it down. Even if it's going over our head, it is sometimes good to know the technical aspects also, because many times we hear the pastimes, but what is important is behind the pastimes, what is the tattva that we can learn? Who is Radharani? Who is Balaramji? Who is Krishna as far as tattva is concerned? So Krishna has three Shaktis: Sat, Chit and Ananda. This Sat is also called as Sandhini, and the predominating deity for that is Balaramji. Then second, we have the Chit Shakti, which is also called as Samvid. Samvid Shakti is called as the knowledge. And who is the predominating deity? Oh, well, Krishna is the predominating deity for Samvid, because there is no one more knowledgeable than Krishna. We see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke the whole of Bhagavad Gita within 48 straight minutes, and it wasn't prepared. It just came out of his mouth on the spot. So Krishna is the most knowledgeable. So Krishna becomes the predominating deity as far as the Samvid or the Chit Shakti is concerned. And third is the Ananda, which is also called as Ladhini. And the predominating deity for Ananda or Ladhini is called as Radharani, the pleasure-giving potency of the Lord. So just in short, there are three potencies. That is Sat, which means form. There is Chit, that means knowledge. And then it is Ananda or Ladhini, which is the happiness-giving potency of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, Radharani appeared in front of Shri Krishna. And Kaviraj Goswami very beautifully describes Radha Krishna Aiche Ekai Swarup. Radha and Krishna are one Swarup. Leela Ras Aswadite Dhari Dui Roop. For Leela Ras Aswadan, to taste the Leelas of the Braj Dham. Leela Ras Aswadite Dhari Dui Roop. To taste these beautiful mellows, they have taken two forms. But as far as Tattva is concerned, they are one and the same. Radha Krishna Aiche Ekai Swarup. Radha Krishna Atma. Radha Krishna Dui Deha Dhari. Radha and Krishna, they have taken two forms. Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Deha Dhari. Radha and Krishna are Eka Atma. But now they have taken two forms. Why? To taste the beautiful Leelas. But factually, they are one and the same personality. And we saw how they're one and the same personality, because when Krishna was thinking, Radharani sprang from his left side. So Radha Krishna Aiche Eka Hi Swarup. They are one and the same. So this Swarup of the Supreme Lord, which came from himself, which came from his Swarup, is called a Swarup Shakti. So Radharani is also called a Swarup Shakti of the Lord. There are different terminologies which factually mean one and the same. But because she came from the Swarup, that is form of the Lord, she is called as Swarup Shakti. So Kaviraj Goswami, very beautifully in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, he describes this Ladhini Shakti. He's asking this question, oh, what is Ladhini Shakti? Ladhini Rasar Prem, Prema Sara Bhav, Bhav Paramakashta Nama Mahabhav. What is Ladhini? Ladhinira Shakti, Sar Prem, the Sar, the essence. Ladhinira Sar Prem, the essence of Ladhini Shakti is Prem, is love. Prem also means love. Just like Rag, we discussed, means love. Similarly, Prema also means love. Ladhinire Sar Prem, the essence of this Ladhini Shakti is Prem. Ladhinire Sar Prem, Prema Sara Bhav. And what is the essence of the Prema? Is Bhav. Bhav means emotion. Where there is love, there are always emotions. Emotions are always coupled with love. Even in this world, we find when one person loves another person, there has to be emotions involved. And when there are no emotions involved, we say, oh, that person is stone-hearted because he does not have any emotions. So when there is love, it is always enveloped with emotions, with bhav. So he says, Ladhinire Sar Prem, Prema Sara Bhav. The essence of that prem is bhav. Bhav Parama Kashta. When that bhav reaches its pinnacle, when that bhav reaches its highest point, the threshold, bhav paramakashta nama mahabhav, that bhav which reaches its pinnacle is called as mahabhav. Mahabhav Swarupini Rādhā Thakurani. Who is Radharani? She is Mahabhav Swarupini. So we just described what is Mahabhav. And now Kaviraj Goswami is saying, oh my dear readers and listeners, who is Radharani? Mahabhav Swarupini Rādhā Thakurani. So after Prem, there are another many levels like Man, Abhiman, Rag, Sneha, Pranay. It goes on. And Mahabhav is the highest point of love, which only Radharani possesses. It's called as Madanakya Mahabhav. Even Mother Yashoda or the gopis don't possess so much love as much as Srimati Radharani. So that love of Radharani is called as Madanakya Mahabhav, the highest pinnacle of love. So Kaviraj Goswami says, Mahabhava Swarupini. If there has to be an embodiment of that Mahabhav, who is that personality? Well, it is Srimati Radharani. Mahabhava Swarupini Rādhā Thakurani Sarva Guna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. Radharani is Sarva Guna Khani. She is loaded. She's filled with all the qualities. In the Ujjvala Nilamani, Kaviraj Goswami quotes Ujjvala Nilamani in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he describes Radharani as 25 qualities. And all these 25 qualities are different in their characteristic, which only Radharani possesses. So he says, Sarva Guna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. This is the position of Srimati Radharani, Mahabhav Swarupini. She is at the highest point of love. So this is the tattva which our predecessor acharyas have given as far as Radharani is concerned. And this discussion can go on and on and on. But at this point, dear devotees, I would want to take a pause and want to describe the very beautiful pastimes of Srimati Radharani. This was as far as the tattva is concerned, as far as the Ladhini potency is concerned, as far as how Radharani is positioned in the spiritual world. What are the different characteristics of the gopis and sakhis and how they all come together to serve the Supreme Lord. Srimati Radharani ki jai. So now, at this point, the Himalayan mountains, we all have heard. The Himalayan mountains, the daughter of the Himalayan mountains is Parvati. And whom did Parvati get married to? Well, she got married to Lord Shiva. So naturally, the son-in-law for Himalaya becomes Lord Shiva. So that is a very big position to have Lord Shiva as the son-in-law. So Himalayan mountains was at its peak. But the Himalayan mountains had a rival by the name Vindhya Mountains. Now this is a very sweet description, dear devotees. Please, If we were away from the conversation or discussion in the last 40 minutes, I would highly encourage everyone to again get back, because this is a very sweet description that our acharyas have given. So the Himalayan mountains has a daughter by the name Parvati. And whom did Parvati get married to? Well, she got married to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is the son-in-law for the Himalayan mountains. But because Himalayan mountains had got this supreme good fortune, it had a rival, which are the Vindhya ranges, Vindhya mountains. And the Vindhya mountains were thinking to themselves, it was thinking that how I wish I also have a son-in-law who is more powerful and more glorious than Lord Shiva. So now this was very difficult, but this was the thought process of the Vindhya mountains. And what did the Vindhya mountains do? It started doing tapasya. Because we see in the spiritual world, all these personalities, whether they're Vindhya mountains or the Himalayas, they're all a personality. Even though they externally look as mountains, they're all personalities. So the personification of the Vindhya mountains, it started doing tapasya, penance for years together. And finally, Brahma was very pleased with this tapasya. We see even in the pastime of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu did penance for like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And finally, Brahma got pleased. He was completely pleased and he granted the benediction. So here in this case, Vindhya mountains performed the tapasya and Brahma was very pleased, and Brahma came with tears in his eyes. Oh, my dear Vindhya, you have performed penance for so many years. What is it that I can give for you? So when Vindhya mountains heard this, he said, I desire a son-in-law who is more powerful than Lord Shiva. I desire a son-in-law who can beat Lord Shiva in the battle. And Brahma, without even thinking, he said, oh, my dear son, may your desires be fulfilled, tathastu. And Vindhya mountains left. But then Brahma realized, he said, hey, wait a minute. Beat Lord Shiva in a battle? This is not possible. He is Mahadev. No one can beat him in a battle. How is this possible? So Brahma was scratching his head. He was thinking to himself. You see, Brahma is a quad-core processor. He has 4 brains. He's a quad-core processor. So Brahmaji was thinking, he was scratching his head. And he was thinking, how is this going to fructify? Who can beat Lord Shiva in a battle? There is no one who can beat him. So Brahma was completely bewildered. He had given the benediction, but he had no idea how this would fructify. Now, this is one part of the story. Let us keep this to the back of our head. And I would want to take you all to the place where Devaki has given birth to the 8th child. And as we know the whole story, the girl child was brought from Gokul. So when Kamsa Maharaj was about to throw the baby girl, the girl child went up in the air. And it was Durga Devi, and Durga Devi said, oh Kamsa, you're so foolish. The 8th child whom you are planning to kill is already born somewhere. He has already appeared. So your death has already been given birth to. So when Kamsa heard this, he was very afraid. He was fearing for his life. And he looked at Durga and said, my dear mother, please give me some hint as to where this child is. Give me some hint. So when Durga Devi heard, she said, okay, I will give you one hint. The hint is, if you get married to the daughter of Vindhya, then what will happen is you will get more strength than that of Lord Shiva, because this is what has happened there. Brahma has just given the benediction. So if you get married to the daughter of Vindhya, I don't know about defeating the Supreme Lord, but at least you will become more powerful than Lord Shiva. So when Kamsa heard this, his mind started working. And he immediately called for a meeting. He called for a conference, and all his asura demons, they all came ahead. And Kamsa proposed a plan. What was the plan? Well, even before Kamsa could end his plan, all the demons, they went behind and said, my dear Kamsa, we cannot do this. You ask us to do anything else, we can do that, but this we cannot do. What was Kamsa asking them to do? Well, Kamsa asked all these demons that Durga Devi told me that if I get married to the daughter of Vindhya, I will become more strong than even Lord Shiva. So my request is, bring all the daughters who have just appeared so that I will marry all of them. You see, this is Asuric mentality. Asuras have no discrimination power. So Kamsa told all his demons, you bring all the girls who have just appeared, I will marry all of them and kill all the boys who have appeared, because the 8th child is going to be the Supreme Lord. But Kamsa doesn't know where he is born, where he has appeared. So he gave this instruction, kill all the boys who have appeared and bring all the girls so that I can marry all the girls and become more powerful than Lord Shiva. Then even if someone tries to kill me, because I'm more powerful than Lord Shiva, I can defeat them. So this was the plan that he suggested. And when they heard, even the demons went behind and said, no, we cannot kill children. We can kill others, but not children. But there is one personality who came ahead. She was Putana. Why did Putana come ahead? Because we see there are two categories, the Sura and Asura. Sura are those who are godly. Asura are those who are not godly. In the Asuras also, there are various classifications like Rakshasas and so on and so forth. But that category of Asuras, that category which is streamlined, which has a laser focus on killing just children, on killing just babies, that category is called as Putana. So Putana is just not just a name, but it is that categories who have mastered in killing babies. They are streamlined in killing babies. They don't kill anyone else, but just newborn babies. So when everyone went behind, it was Putana who came ahead and said, my dear Kamsa, I will do this for you. This is my forte. This is my specialization. So I will do this for you. I will kill all the baby boys who are born, and I will bring all the baby girls to you so that you can get married to them. So this plan was chalked out, and Putana began to fly. She was flying in the air. So you see, it is not the Wright brothers who came up with the aircraft. Even before that, you have examples of Putana who were flying in the air. So Putana was flying in the air, and she was finding, oh, where are the girls whom I can get, and where are the boys whom I can kill? But she didn't have to do much effort, because it is said when she was flying, from a distance, she found the Vindhya mountain. Vindhya on her lap had his two daughters sitting. And these two daughters were sitting, and Putana from a distance, she saw this. So why was Vindhya sitting with his two daughters? Because the daughters had just appeared and he was doing a sacrifice for their future. He was doing a sacrifice for their future benefit, for their life. So a nice sacrifice was going on with a lot of pundits, and Vindhya mountain was sitting with his two daughters. That is, I'll come to the name later. But he was sitting with his two daughters. And Putana from a distance, she saw that Vindhya mountain is sitting. So she came and she landed. And before anyone could react, these two daughters were picked up. And she began to fly. And when Vindhya mountain saw, he was loudly proclaiming, he was exclaiming, he was getting angry. Who is this lady who has taken my two daughters? After such a long time, I've given birth to two daughters. Who is this Rakshasi who was taken? And he was telling the Pandits, chant some mantra so that I can get my daughters back. Chant something. But Putana was very powerful. So when the Pandits saw this, they were completely frightened. They didn't know what to do. So they started chanting the Asura Marana mantra, that mantra through which the Asuras die, the Asura Marana mantra. These two daughters whom Putana picked from the lap of Vindhya were none other than Chandravali and Radharani. Chandravali and Radharani were sitting on the lap of Vindhya mountain when Putana saw from a distance, and she picked both of them and was flying in the air. And here were the Pandits who were chanting the Asura Maran mantra. But Putana was so powerful that she wouldn't die because of this mantra. But what happened was her power was reducing and reducing and reducing. Her power was greatly coming down. So when she was flying in the air, because her power was coming down, she had to drop one baby. That baby which was dropped first was none other than Chandravali. And she fell and she performed her pastimes as Rukmini in Dwaraka. And now Putana was holding only one child, one girl child, daughter of Vindhya, which was Srimati Radharani. And Putana was trying hard to hold, but the Asura Marana mantra was so powerful that after reaching some distance, she had to drop Radharani. And when she dropped Radharani, Radharani fell in Yamuna on the golden lotus where Vrishabhanu Maharaj found her. So this is the history as to how Srimati Radharani landed on that golden lotus. Many times we have heard that Vrishabhanu Maharaj found Srimati Radharani on a golden lotus. But what is that history? Well, this is the history. Putana, because of the Asura Marana mantra, she dropped Radharani. Radharani fell in Yamuna on that 1,000-petal lotus. And when Vrishabhanu Maharaj, who was doing his Gayatri waist deep in Yamuna, when he saw Srimati Radharani, his heart melted and he took Radharani and took her home to Kirtida. And from that time, Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida, they were taking care of Srimati Radharani. So interestingly, Putana has a very strong connection, not just with Krishna, but also with Radharani. So in the spiritual world, we saw how Radharani appeared. She sprang from the left side of Sri Krishna. But in this world, when Radharani appeared, this is the history how she fell on that golden lotus. And Radharani had a condition. She told Krishna that, my dear Krishna, I will come down, but I have a condition. Krishna said, oh, Radhe, what is the condition? What do you want me to do? So to that, Srimati Radharani, she said, my dear Krishna, I will only come down if there are three things that accompany me. What are the three things? First, there should be a Vrindavan Dham. Second, there has to be Yamuna. And third, there has to be Giriraj Govardhan. Only when there is Vrindavan Dham, Yamuna and Giriraj Govardhan will I descend down, Krishna. These are my terms and conditions. These are my asterisks. You have to grant me these three things. And only when these three things are there, I will come down. And rightly so, Krishna fulfilled the desire of Vrindavan Dham, of Yamuna and Giriraj Govardhan. And that is how Radharani appeared in this world on the golden lotus. So not just in Krishna Leela, even in Gaur Leela we find there is a very interesting connection. Gadadhar was searching for a guru, and Gadadhar went to Mukunda and he expressed his desire that, my dear Mukunda, I am in search of a guru, so kindly please help me so that I can find a bona fide guru. So when Mukunda heard this, he held his hand and took him to Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Now Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a very special personality. Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat describes Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very fashionable. He would sit on high thrones. He would wear silken robes. There were people to fan him with his hands raised above. He would sit like a king, chewing betel nut, the best of food. All the opulent luxury things were enjoyed by Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So he was sitting on a throne with chewing betel nut. And here is Mukunda who brought Gadadhar, who was in search of a guru. So when Gadadhar looked at Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he had this question in his mind. I am looking for a bona fide guru, but who has Mukunda brought me to? I have never seen a guru like this who's sitting on high throne and wearing silken robes and eating betel nut, and there are people to fan him. What kind of devotee he is? So Gadadhar didn't say, but he was thinking in his mind. And Mukunda, he understood this. So even before Gadadhar could vocalize his point, what Mukunda did was he chanted a verse. He chanted, Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jengam sayapaya adhavya sadvi lebhe gatim dhatri muchitam tathonyam kamva dayalum sharanam rajema. The third canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. This is a verse that was chanted by Uddhav. What does this verse mean? This verse describes Putana. Aho Baki Ayam. Who's Putana? She's Baki Ayam. She's the sister of Bakasur. So Aghasur, Bakasur and Putana were two brothers and one sister. So Aho Baki Ayam. She is the sister of Bakasur. That's why in India they say Teen Tigda Kam Bigda. Which means when three people go outside, the work will always be destroyed. The work will not be successful. But where is the origin? It is these three personalities. Aghasur, Bakasur and Putana. They were so demoniac that wherever they would go, they would just cause problems. So Aho Baki Ayam. Who's Putana? She is the sister of Bakasur. Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam. And she smeared poison. Now this poison, our acharyas described, was not a normal poison. This poison was such that there was no antidote. We see sometimes when the snakes bite, we go to the doctor and they give some injection through which it counteracts the poison of the snake. But this poison of Putana, Shukadev Goswami is saying, Aho Bakiyayam Stanakala Kutam. This poison was such, there was no antidote. There was nothing that could be done before and there was nothing that could be done after. If someone had this poison, they were sure to die. And Putana smeared this poison to kill Krishna. Aho Baki Ayam Stanakala Kutam Jingam Saya Paya Adhavya Sadhvi. And how was she? She was a Sadhvi. She was not Sadhvi. She was not godly. She was a Sadhvi. She was ungodly. Lebe Gatim Dhatri Uchitam Tathonyam. But still the Supreme Lord gave her the position of Dhatri. Dhatri in Sanskrit translates to mother. The Supreme Lord was so kind and so merciful, he still gave her the position of mother. Lebe Gatim Dhatri Muchitam Tathonyam. And what is Krishna saying? Tathonyam. Lebe Gatim Dhatri Uchitam Tathonyam. This is Uchit. Don't think that I have showered a lot of mercy on her. Arey, no, no, no. This is Uchit. This is what she deserves. She came in the mood of mother and I am giving her the position of eternal mother in the spiritual world. So don't think that I have showered mercy. This is Uchit. This is legitimate. This is justice that I have done. Krishna is saying. Lebe Gatim Dhatri Uchitam Tathonyam Kamva Dayalum Sharanam Vrajema. Who can be more merciful than that Krishna who gave the position of eternal mother to someone who came to kill and murder him? My holy spiritual master Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, when he was speaking about this, he made a very fantastic point. He said, in this world, when someone comes us to give nectar, we give them poison. But in Krishna's world, someone who comes to give him poison, Krishna gives that person nectar and makes him eternal. He said, this is the difference between Krishna and mere mortals. In this world, when someone comes to us giving good advice, we criticize them, we find faults in them. But in Krishna's world, when someone comes to harm and destroy and kill Krishna, Krishna is ready to give them the position of mother. Kamva dayalum sharanam brajema. So now Mukunda chanted this verse, Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam. And when Mukunda chanted this verse, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who was sitting on the high throne, he just fell to the ground. He rolled in the steps and he fell to the ground and he was rolling and saying, Kam va dayalum sharanam brajema, Kam va dayalum sharanam brajema. He was ripping his cloth apart with tears in his eyes, hair standing on end, teeth chattering, the skin going pale, 5 streams of tears wetting his cheeks. All this when he heard this beautiful verse of Putana entering Vrindavan. So now you would have this question, oh, how is this related to Radharani? Well, when Pundarik Vidyanidhi fell down and was rolling on the ground, Gadadhar understood that this personality is a Mahabhagavat. He's a pure Vaishnav. And I actually made a mistake. I misunderstood him. But now that Mukunda has chanted this verse, I understand his glories. And when Pundarik Vidyanidhi regained consciousness, it is said for almost 6 hours, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was unconscious just by hearing one verse of Bhagavatam. Prati shloke, prati akshare, nana arte koy, Krishna tulya Bhagavat, vibhu sarvashroy. This is the power, dear devotees of Bhagavat. Prati shloke, prati akshare, every word, not every word, every alphabet, not every alphabet, every syllable has so much rasa that it can drown the jiva for eternity. Prati shloke, prati akshare, nana artheka. It has so many meanings. So when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard for 6 hours, he was rolling on the ground and crying, Kam va dayalum sharanam brajema, Kam va dayalum sharanam brajema. Who can be more merciful than that Krishna who gave the position of mother who came to kill him? So finally, Gadadhar decided to surrender his life and soul at the lotus feet of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Gaur Ganodesha Deepika describes who is Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Krishna Leela. Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Krishna Leela is non-different from Vrishabhanu Maharaj. And who is Gadadhar? Well, Gadadhar is non-different from Radharani. So in Gaur Leela, Radharani met her father Vrishabhanu Maharaj, that is Pundarik Vidyanidhi, by the verse of Aho Bakiyam Stana Kala Kutam, which describes Putana. And also in Krishna Leela, Radharani met her father Vrishabhanu Maharaj through the arrangement of Putana. So we find Putana has a very strong connection with Radharani and Krishna, not just in Krishna Leela, but also in Gaur Leela. So in this way, Srimati Radharani, in the spiritual world, she sprang from the left side of Krishna to give Krishna happiness. Amake anand dibe ache kon jan. She came to fulfill this desire of the Supreme Lord, to grant him happiness. And in this world, when she had to appear, she appeared on the golden lotus, which we discussed as to how she fell on the golden lotus. And in Gaur Leela, in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she met Radharani, that is Gadadhar, met Vrishabhanu Maharaj, who is not different from Pundarik Vidyanidhi, through the verse of Aho Bakiyam, which describes Putana. So Putana has a very strong connection with Radharani and Krishna, not just in Krishna Leela, but also in Gaur Leela. So in the hour's discussion, we discussed the tattva of Srimati Radharani. We discussed what her position is. We discussed the 4 groups of the spiritual world and where Lalita Sakhi and Vishaka Sakhi are placed. Then we also discussed about Samvit, Sandhini, Samvit and Ladhini. Then we discussed how Ladhini is further classified as Amurta and Murta, and Radharani falls under the category of Murta Ladhini Shakti. And then we discussed what is Mahabhav. We also came to the point as to how she appeared in this world through the pastime of Himalayan mountains and the Vindhya mountains. And then we also, to conclude, discussed the pastime of Gadadhar wanting to find a Sri Guru. And it was through this verse of Aho Bakiyam, through the means of Putana, that Radharani found her father Vrishabhanu Maharaj in Gaur Leela. So there are many more things to discuss, but it's already 1 hour's time. So I will pause here for now. And what happens ahead after Radharani's appearance, what are the different pastimes that take place, not just in Braj Leela, but also in Gaur Leela, and what is the connection between Radha Krishna Leela and Gaur Leela will be the topic of our next discussion. Having said this, I would want to humbly thank all the devotees for very kindly showering your blessings by your presence. And we hope and pray that Lalita Devi, whose appearance day is today, that Lalita Devi showers her blessings, and may one day arise where we are completely sold out and surrendered to the feet of Radharani like Lalita Devi. Having said this, I would humbly want to stop. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Lalita Sashti ki Jai, Srimati Radharani ki Jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.